Hello, everyone who actually is watching this. I don't know how many people that is, probably 20 based on the average amount of people who watch my YouTube channel. And welcome to an episode where I talk about what I prefer to call the Berlin conflicts, which is essentially two conflicts in the Cold War. I'm going to be focusing on the latter one because that's the one I was actually signed for this project. I'll be talking about the first one just because it's a great start to the Cold War. So what are these conflicts? They are the Berlin Airlift and the Berlin Wall. So, let's get started. First, the Berlin Airlift. Now, at this time, this is 1949, Berlin, and just Germany in general, is still split in half, with the West and the capitalist powers, US, on one side, the West, and then on the East, there's the Soviets, the communist guys, the ones with all the jokes that we make about them on the internet. I'm going to flash a meme or something to show that. So, basically, Stalin, who was still in power at this time, did not like the fact that there was a major capitalist city in the middle of a Soviet-controlled zone. So he tried to get all the armed forces out of there by blockading all roads into the city. This failed colossally as the Allies were able to perform a massive airlift effort, essentially over a year and a half. They dropped a whole bunch of care packages by planes in an insane feat of logistics to keep the city supplied. It was actually better supplied than it was normally by railroad and stuff. It was insane. So you can imagine the Soviets did not like that at all and basically saw the blockade as a waste of time at this point, a year and a half later. So they just tore it down. Actually, no, hold on. It ended in 1949. It started in 1948. Needed to correct myself on that while I caught it. That would have been annoying to catch. Anyways. So, that basically started the Cold War. Just that event. That was the first major ideological conflict of the Cold War. And basically, the thing that's, to my mind, started it. Maybe not definitively, but it's the easiest thing to point to. For more information on the Berlin Airlift, here's an extra history video you can check out if you actually care. If you don't, fine, don't watch it. You have a choice here. I'm not forcing you to. I'm not Stalin. Now then, onto the Berlin Wall, which is the main point of this video. So, at this point, East and West Berlin are still a problem, especially for the Soviets, who need people like workers and thinkers to actually, keep their government running. And these people did not want to be in the Soviet Union. So, they effectively bypassed a major travel restriction in East Berlin by crossing the street into West Berlin and fleeing by plane. That is literally what they did. It is the easiest mode of escaping a totalitarian regime I've ever seen or heard about, to be honest. I haven't seen it myself, but it is hilarious to read about, to be honest, because it's like, that is a major force. Like, how did you miss that? And after about 2.5 to 3 million people escaped over the course of 12 years from 1949 to 1961, the government of East Berlin agreed, we need to do something about that problem. So they followed the same line of thinking that our president apparently does and said, let's build a wall. Like, right in the middle of this city. And first, to start off with a simple chain link fence. Then they added a 15-foot concrete wall. Then guards. Then sniper towers. Then a minefield. Now that's overkill, to be honest, but 5,000 people were still able to cross this. Admittedly, this was at a much slower rate. It happened from 1961 to 1989, so about 28 years, little over double the time it took for 2.5 to 3 million people to cross, so that's still a significant reduction. But it isn't a lot. I mean, it's still a lot, actually, to just leave a country in that amount of time. And there was actually a couple hundred people who died trying to cross. So you kind of have to account for that. But it was like only a little over 100 last I checked statistics. I don't get exact numbers on that, so I just know it was a couple hundred. Less than 200, at least. And so there's always a bunch of interesting stories about people trying to escape over this wall. And, it's people jumping across the wall from neighboring buildings. It's people sneaking across in the dead of night. People swimming across a nearby river that wasn't reinforced. to the fantastically outlandish one that the only source I've found to back it up is a TED Ed video. Essentially, someone stole a tank and drove it through the wall. I prefer to believe that one because that one's hilarious to me. Like, just put yourself into a soldier's mind when you see a tank barreling through the wall on the side that you're supposed to be in. Like, that is terrifying on so many levels. How do you respond to that? Sorry, I have to laugh at that every time I say it. So, this wall quickly became a very good symbol for the Cold War in general. Actually, just for the entire city at this point, because think about it. You have the West on one side, you got the East on the other, you got a literal wall separating them. Scale that up to the world, you got the Cold War, you got the West, you got the East, you got the Iron Curtain. There you go. Actually, the Berlin Wall is technically a part of the Iron Curtain, even though it was made of concrete. So, there's that. Basically, what brought this down? Well, Gorbachev. Because everything under his sort of reign over the Soviet Union basically caused the entire collapse. Not exactly, there were still some things before him, but basically everything started to unravel with him. And this includes the Berlin Wall, which actually fell 2 years before the Soviet Union would. So keep that in mind. Basically, because of his very reformist policies, something happened to the East Berlin government, and they thought it was a good idea to, without informing their guards, announce on public television that, hey, travel across the Berlin Wall is now unrestricted. Come and go as you please. I don't know what they thought would happen, but effectively what this did was cause the entire population of the city, both sides, to swarm the wall, climbing it and tearing it down with chisels and stuff, and the guards didn't do anything because they're like, what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? There's too many of them. It's actually kind of hilarious, to be honest. Once more, put yourself in their position. What would you do? It's kind of terrifying, to be honest. You see an entire city population coming after you, and you're like, oh god, they didn't prepare me for this in training. Yeah, and so now there's still fragments of the wall still up in Germany as sort of a reminder to this. This insane time history where a city and a country were just divided in such an insane way. It just doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. Look back on it. Look back at the maps. It makes no sense. I'm surprised it lasted until 1989, which is when the wall fell down. And I'm surprised even more that Germany stayed split until the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. I mean, maybe that one makes a bit more sense, to be honest, because then the Soviets could still reinforce it, but then suddenly there's no more Soviet Union, so they can't reinforce that anymore. And Germany was reunited. And I think they're also leading the world in green energy now, so good for them. Mass recovery. You won, Germany. So yeah, that was the Berlin Wall and the Berlin Airlift very briefly. You got all my sources. Hope you enjoyed this. It's something I kind of want to do more, to be honest. Maybe a bit more professionally. I have no idea. Maybe, hopefully, I can get a better recording device than my phone on my bed on a book. Sorry, scratch that. The phone is on a book, which is on my bed. And I think it's cutting my head off, to be honest. I can't actually get it to line up correctly, but just so you know, this is in the French Revolution. I have not lost my head. It's right here. Hello. So, enjoyed that.